The following file was never intended for public decryption. It was recovered from a scrubbed server rack in a decommissioned NSA data center outside of Columbus. Accessing this packet constitutes a Tier 4 security breach of the Null Point Archives. If you are hearing this, your terminal has already been flagged. Proceed with clinical detachment. Subject file 402 begins with standard surveillance telemetry. Date, October 14, 1998. Location, Cleveland, Ohio. On the surface, the footage presents a typical Midwestern street scene. Note the mundane details, the Ohio Savings signage, the outdated automotive silhouettes. At 14:02 local time, the automated signal monitoring box, an early precursor to modern facial recognition, begins flagging pedestrians. Observe the tracking squares. In 1998, the Bureau was testing live render surveillance, an attempt to digitize every soul on the pavement in real time. Everything appears synchronized. The frame rate is steady. The metadata suggests a high-fidelity capture. However, look closely at the crowd density. Even here, at the beginning, the system is struggling with a packet loss that shouldn't exist. There is a lag in the way shadows fall on the pavement, a stutter in the reality of the scene that the internal clock fails to register. At the 2-minute mark, the monitoring software begins to malfunction. The system narrows its focus onto a single individual designated as Subject 402. Subject 402 is wearing a standard overcoat, yet the surveillance box around his head is no longer green. It is flashing a recognition error warning in high-frequency bursts. Look at the facial telemetry. As the subject moves, his features do not blur, they fracture. This isn't a camera smudge or a lens flare. The forensic analysis shows that Subject 402's physical geometry is losing its resolution. Observe the occipital ridge, the data is leaking. The subject's head is literally shedding bits of its own information into the air. The Bureau's internal logs noted this as a rendering failure of a biological asset, a term used when the world around us fails to load a person correctly. Every 15 seconds, the system attempts a hard reset, but the glitch remains, spreading from the crown of the head down to the neck. The subject continues to walk, seemingly unaware that his identity is being deleted by the atmosphere itself. At 4:15, the feed switches to a prototype thermal imaging overlay. The results are physically impossible. The crowd is a sea of warm oranges and red's normal human metabolic output for a brisk October afternoon. Subject 402, however, is a void. Note the feet. Look at the sidewalk where Subject 402's shoes meet the pavement. In the thermal spectrum, he is a piercing, vibrant blue absolute zero. There is no heat signature. No heartbeat registered by the acoustic sensors. He is a walking frostbite in the middle of a populated street. The anomaly is most pronounced at the base of his movement. As his feet touch the concrete, the heat is sucked out of the ground, leaving frozen data trails. The surrounding pedestrians are radiating a standard 98.6 degrees, but as Subject 402 passes them, their thermal halos flicker and dim. It's as if he is an environmental sink, a hole in the thermal layer of our reality. The most disturbing segment occurs at the 6-minute mark. 2 pedestrian civilian casualties of curiosity attempt to interact with Subject 402. They appear to be asking for directions or perhaps commenting on his erratic movement. Observe the physical contact. The pedestrian on the left reaches out to touch Subject 402's arm. Note the expression of immediate visceral confusion on the civilian's face. Forensic lip reading suggests he says the word empty. In the high-resolution crop, you can see their fingers sinking into the subject's sleeve, but there is no resistance, no fabric, no flesh. Their hands pass into the space where Subject 402 should be, only to encounter a wall of static. The pedestrians recoil. They aren't just scared. They are experiencing sensor dissonance. Their brains cannot categorize what they are touching. At 14:09, Subject 402 stops in the center of the sidewalk. The footage begins to degrade rapidly here, not because of the age of the tape, but because the event itself is corrupting the recording hardware. Subject 402 begins the final fracture. This is the null point moment. His body isn't falling. It is de-rezzing. High-frequency green digital code, primitive, binary, and ancient erupts from his chest cavity. He isn't bleeding. He is leaking syntax. The sidewalk beneath him is replaced by a grid. For 3 seconds, the surveillance camera records a glimpse behind the curtain of our perceived environment. Subject 402 shatters into a cloud of glowing alphanumeric dust. And then he is gone. No residue, no body. Just a file not found error echoing on the system's internal monitor. The 2 pedestrians are left standing in a circle of scorched pavement, staring at a space that is now perfectly empty. The record for Subject 402 was officially sealed on October 15, 1998, and all witnesses were processed for memory remediation. You have just viewed what the Office of Digital Remediation spent millions to bury. By staying until the end of this broadcast, You have demonstrated a high tolerance for classified data. Because of this, I am granting you an informal clearance. If you wish to receive further decryption keys for the remaining files in the Null Point Archive, you must mark your arrival in the database. Subscribe to this terminal. It is the only way to ensure you are notified when the next packet is leaked. Consider this a privilege. The truth is a heavy load. Don't carry it alone. File closed. System standby.